Welcome to Prescribed Respawn Quarantine Edition. PAX Online, guys. I am Dr. Enabler, not a doctor, and I will be your MC, host, and Dr. Wrangler for this panel. We had a great time last year, and obviously we're hoping to return in person this year, but state of things as it is. We did jump at the option to do this online format once it got offered, and so we've got a lot of content to cover, so I will just push us forward without delay. A couple of disclaimery things to get us started. This is a panel with medical professionals discussing real medical procedures, and we'll feature some medical
not that professional.
So, any patient material you do see is de-identified and presented with consent, and attendee discretion is advised in that kind of area. We do also have a viewer advisory. Obviously, there's a spoiler alert. We will be talking about things and games that you may or may not have seen, may or may not have played as yet. This is just one big spoiler warning. We're not going to do it for every slide, guys. So
that's the spoil we still have.
Just take the entire thing as one big spoiler. That being said, we do use a lot of clips and images from games, which are shown for illustrative and discussion purposes only, occasionally for amusement as well. Any and all rights to the content are retained by the content creators and owners. And I have been asked by our illustrious professionals to specify that no part of this presentation counts as an actual doctor consultation. Please consult.
If you're experiencing a medical emergency, don't stay in the stream. Call an ambulance.
And remember, kids, a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, but you've got to take what we say of a tablespoon of salt.
I'm already concerned.
I
haven't even introduced you yet. Speaking of introductions, let's just go from the top. Dr. Evil is a general practitioner and surgical trainee who's spent the last 10 years or so working at the whim of the government, playing in literal sandboxes. He is barely trusted with scissors, but he's still a medical professional. Dr. Bones. Dr. Bones, put your hand up, Dr. Bones.
Hey.
Is an orthopedic surgeon who likes bones and loves spines. He considers himself worthy to wield Mjolnir, yet is frustrated that he cannot smite puny green viruses.
Yet.
Large hammer.
Orthopod, hit harder.
No, where did you get those from?
I don't know,
Aren't they supposed to be in someone?
I gotta go.
Bringing up our last panel position is Dr. Doom, who is an addiction and general medicine registrar who has more miniatures than he has time to paint. He has small children and hasn't been able to play video games in quite a while, but still brings a level of gravitas to the entire proceeding. Our unseen behind the scenes digital hype man is the Master Chief of Design. He strikes quickly and surgically from the shadows, applying his eye for design to slide shirts and logos. If you do like what you see, hit him up. Born in Thread is the guy that you want to go and talk to. He does great work.
They make great
logos. Fantastic. Yeah, they do.
Well, we have an apology. Dr. We know our panel is normally bigger. Dr. Death
Okay, we'll stop now.
She is expected back next year for PAX 2021, and we look forward to having her back.
We miss her.
Lastly, before we jump into officially fun things, we will be having a quick Q&A at the end of the stream today. So if you have a game-related question, you can submit them here via Twitch chat somewhere, but also in the official PAX Discord. We have some moderators floating around both places. So if you have a question you'd like to see answered at the end of the presentation, we will get to as many as we possibly can. Aside from that, tune back in Friday where we are having just a Q&A panel. We will be pulling in all of the questions that we take down from Twitter over the next few days, as well as anything we don't get to tonight, and hopefully getting through as much as possible there.
Your opportunity for a free or bulk billed medical consultation.
Oh, God. Or we might just
This isn't the medical consult room. We just said that in a disclaimer. You've undermined everything that we've done.
Yeah.
Just undermine me. If you are going to submit via Twitter, please pay attention to the hashtag. It's on the bottom of all of our slides. It's all in white. If you submit a question using the hashtag PRPAX20, you can go into the running to win one of 5 of our limited edition pins that we had at last year's PAX. So if you're keen to win one of those, make sure you submit your question before Friday or even today, because you can still go in the running and we'll still get to your question today. That being said, Dr. Evil, let's kick things off with a boom, so to speak.
Boom! All right. So one of the most satisfying things ever in the military is being able to scream frag out, and you toss the little green pineapple and pop, it goes. And I didn't misspeak. Grenades don't go boom; they really just go pop. You can see by the video there just how underwhelming a grenade actually is.
Is that seriously it?
That's it. That's it. Little puff of smoke. And then a whole bunch of like around the place. Now, all of those little puffs of dust that come up, that's actually shrapnel though. So that's what's going to ruin your day.
Yeah.
You may only see it go pop, and you may not get sort of doused in flames and stuff, but out to 6 meters, you're going to get shredded to pieces by.
Hey, Dr. Evil, are grenades MRI compatible?
No, but they can be. You can use an MRI to perhaps treat a grenade or shrapnel that's in the.
Be handy finding the piece
to remove it like at speed.
Yeah, that'll work.
No,
I think you only can do that once with an individual MRI. Is that right?
I think it breaks the MRI, which are only about $3 million each.
Hey, is this video why you're no longer allowed on assault missions? Did you try to capture one of your soldiers?
I fumble with grenades all the time, but let's wind back a year, not for when I was fumbling with grenades, but a year when we were asked a really good question at the last PAX, and it was about diving on or picking up and throwing back a frag grenade.
Oh yeah, now, Captain America. Yeah,
I can do that totally. What happens when you dive on a grenade? You're actually just sort of soaking all of the energy of the explosion and the shrapnel rather than over an entire a large 6 meter sort of diameter. It's actually just going all through you. Now, would it kill you? Well, likely. There are a couple of celebrated cases of US and UK soldiers who have seen a grenade go next to their troops and they've jumped down onto it. They've been wearing body armor systems and they have survived. In a way, they were kind of missing bits and pieces of themselves. Those were
so not intact.
They survived, but not intact. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem with diving on grenades. I mean, if you do it and you're successful, well, great success. But picking up a grenade and throwing it back, aside from the fact that most 5-second fuses only last 3 seconds because military grenades are manufactured by the lowest possible bidder, you're now taking something that's at ground level and holding it perfectly at head height.
Now that we know that those are really underwhelming, what if we had a chat about...
We go bigger?
You want to go
bigger?
Yes, bigger is better. Everyone likes big explosions. From like setting C4 charges to like dropping bombs on people.
I love the shockwave in this video, man. I could watch it
absolutely. Explosions are really fascinating. So if you look closely at this video, you can see all the primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary effects from an explosion. So the primary part of an explosion you actually won't see. So it travels a shockwave roughly at the speed of sound, and it's the thing that turns all the vital organs into smoothie wrapped in skin. So you're fine on the outside, but you're kind of a little squishy on the inside. Well, squishier than usual. Yeah, that's the primary effect, and it has shearing forces, and it's even worse when it's an enclosed space. So if you're in an open space, the explosion spreads up and out. If you're in a tunnel, it bounces in around the area, and so you get hit 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. That's the primary effect. The secondary effect we talked about, that's shrapnel. That's following very closely behind that blast wave. And, it's got, metal and dust and parts of the device, cats, dogs, living together. coming for you and they're going to tear you to pieces. So that's a secondary effect. Now, after you've been thrown and shredded up, you get pushed into things, you kind of broken bones, caved in skulls, and then just to add insult to injury, the flaming ball of fire follows on closely behind and then sets you on fire. So broadly speaking, real explosions, like big explosions, are bad, and you want to be somewhere else. Now,
But
the whole
if I'm
adage
using them to be able to augment my jump and reach that edge,
that will absolutely work. That will absolutely work.
Yeah, I'll get there all in one piece, right?
No. Well, you'll get there in multiple pieces, maybe at different times.
Okay.
But you can fix it with just a med kit, though.
Yeah, medkit. Yeah.
Just a med kit, that's all you need to fix
actually, a stim pack, I think, would do it, Adam.
Stim
pack.
I reckon if you were going to run away from an explosion, that would probably help out. But like, seeing if you guys are going to throw segways at me.
There's a quinary effect of walking away.
It's like our grenade.
Walking away from an explosion immediately makes you look more awesome.
Yeah, and if you do it while chowing down on a stim pack or shooting up some chems, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And like there's all sorts of different stim packs out in the games. Fallout's got a stim pack or ultra stim pack. I've obviously been away from the game for a while because I didn't even know there were ultra stim packs. One of my favorites is the stim packs in StarCraft, though. And I've just got to say this bit. Marines have a powerful mix of synthetic adrenaline, endorphins, and psychotropic aggression enhancers. There's nothing bad about that at all.
That'll work.
That's what you need. You need more aggression when you're already angry.
Yeah, it's like a mother or a Red Bull.
There may be some long-term side effects, however, and these may be including but not limited to insomnia, weight loss, mania, hypomania, seizures, paranoid hallucinations, internal hemorrhage, and cerebral deterioration.
and or death.
That is not a light day.
Yeah.
But
if you want, I've got some questions. Questions for you. Then, what other stim packs are there?
Oh, there's all sorts of different things. You ask me something, I can tell you.
What's in your ideal stim pack? Like, because there's a HP boosters, there's the ones that sort of they get you all aggro. Like, what's in your ideal stim pack?
I guess it depends on what kind of mood you're in. Yeah, if you're wanting just to go, run faster, jump higher, take damage, you're going to want something that acts as a hip, like a health booster, something that makes you, not feel pain.
It's like the painkillers in Max Payne.
Yeah, like the painkillers in Max Payne.
Yeah, they work well.
Unfortunately, there is a little bit of a similar-ish analog in real life moment, and that is methamphetamine. But just like the StarCraft stimulants, not even once, dude. Yeah, it's not a good outcome. And if you like your heart, if you like brain function properly, stay away from it as much as you can.
All right, rapid fire.
What about mushrooms and stars?
Are these stim packs? Candy.
Mushrooms and stars. Mario.
Candy. Samarin. Candy, somewhat. Mushrooms, technically not.
Plasmids.
Stars, probably.
Okay, stars, yes. Mushrooms, no.
Plasmids would be related to a stim pack. Again,
what about all those glowing orbs that I keep on coming across? They're all different colours.
Oh, yeah, those would be okay.
Yeah. Okay. Spice. I think June.
Spice, definite stim pack.
Chamomile tea.
Soy macchiato.
Both of those at once.
No, those you'll only find in Melbourne.
Okay, all right. Glue sticks. Glue sticks?
Partially.
Okay.
Not so much of the hit
concerned about
there,
what you did at med school, Dave.
Certainly alters.
I'm concerned too.
But just like everything, not all substances there to help you. So be careful what you consume in the video game world and in the real world.
Official safety warning.
I'm gonna slightly move us away from stim packs because I think that possibly Dr. Bones and Dr. Evil are overstimulated.
A little bit. I'm not sure which stim pack is before the panel.
That's my secret enabler. I'm always stimulated.
I thought Dr. Bones may like to talk about adventuring injuries in the world of the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, exactly. So this comes from my second favourite game in the Elder Scrolls series from Skyrim. In it, you play the fated Dragonborn, and as you run around trying to master your Thum and decide which side you pick in the Stormcloak versus Imperial battle, you do come across a lot of different exotic cities and locales, and in them there's a repetitive trend in that you'll be running past a guard, and they are more than happy to tell you, a complete stranger who's just passing them by, about their glory days, how they used to be an adventurer like you, but then their career was tragically cut short by a wayward arrow to the knee. And like most of you, I just sort of ignored this and kept on going with my quest. But after about the 500th time, I started to think about it a bit more in detail. I went, well, this guy is a guard on active guard duty. And so how does that actually differ from what his tasks are as an adventurer? Well, he still has to wear armor.
Stim pack usage.
Yeah, regular stim pack usage.
Is an arrow to the knee a stim pack?
It is.
No,
it is not a stim pack. It is very much the opposite to a stim pack. So yeah, like they still have to wear armor. Now, light armor or heavy armor, like adventurers choose which one they want. So do the guards. Like this guy here in this picture, he's wearing light armor. There's a lot of walking, so they patrol. They have to go up and down lots of stairs. Probably the main difference, I guess, the guards, there's not much happening in certain cities, so maybe they just have to hunt down the occasional sweet roll thief or find the skooma addict who's passed out in the alleyways. But an adventurer perhaps has to fight more bandits and dragger and explore tombs, dodge traps. Anyway, let's look a little bit more in what an arrow to the knee would do. So you've got to look at what structures could be potentially injured. You could have a fracture, injury to your bone. On the way through, it can take out muscle, tendons, ligaments, cartilage. If it takes out cartilage in your joint, you can't actually do much to replace that. So, that gives you early onset arthritis. A compound fracture or a compound joint injury is actually a bit of a big deal. You got to get it treated expediently, washed out, irrigated, antibiotics, tetanus shots, splintage, sometimes repeat washouts. And at the end of all of this, you may end up with ongoing pain, a little bit of a limp. You may end up with lots of scar tissue that makes you stiff, or if you injure your ligaments, you may be unstable.
You're billing this guy every time, right?
I have mostly worked in the public system, so I get no extra benefit.
Oh, so
I don't bill anything. I'm just the patsy there. So potentially this could be a very debilitating injury. But if you had all of those bad things going on, I don't think you'd actually be able to go back to guard duty. You'd probably have to do something a little bit more sedentary, like maybe just run a stall where you're dealing with cloths and jewelry, not having to walk much. Maybe a sitting, standing type.
Sell wares to adventurers instead of
sell wares. Be a merchant.
Yeah, be a merchant.
Have you considered that he just doesn't want to be an adventurer anymore? Is there a workers' compensation scheme?
There is always look. I can't say what the compensation schemes are like in Skyrim or the other areas in Elder Scrolls. But there is some issues with secondary gain, potentially milking it. I don't know. These guards do sound like they are milking it a bit. But what I would recommend is that if you are in the world of Skyrim, prevention is the best cure. Wear some knee guards because there are a lot of arrows flying around and they are targeted at knee level. You don't need a helmet. Knee guards.
I expected to see way more arrows at knee level in that game.
You mainly find
lots of traps. Sorry?
Okay.
Traps,
the arrows flying at such a low level, surely that's its own epidemic. There's too many gnomes running around or...
well, I find when I'm trying to shoot an arrow, I do like to duck a little and, just sort of slow it down. So, maybe there's lots of people crouching.
That seems fair.
Not good for your back, though, running around in the Nordic hills of Skyrim, crouched with arrows. Anyway.
Well, I will just throw out a general reminder. Hit up the PAX Discord with any questions that you guys have, or our Twitter feed using hashtag PRPAX20 for any questions that you may wish answered. Dr. Evil, I heard you're an animal.
Oh, puppas.
Yes,
puppas.
I am. Let me ask you a question. This is not a rhetorical question.
Okay. Okay. I'm ready.
How do you make gaming better than adding a doggo to it?
Trick question. It's not possible.
Cats.
It is.
Cats. No,
It
not
is
cats.
not possible. No, there is no such thing as an attack cat in any RPG or game that I've ever played.
We got a cat, and it's an arsehole only 5% of the time.
Your cat is
What are those cats?
And that is
Skyrim?
good by cat standards, man. Like,
So no, it can't get any better. You're on your adventures. You've got a doggo. It's along for the adventure with you. Things cannot get any better. And there are a lot of parallels between animal companions in games and what we use in reality, especially in the military. So there are military working dogs that
dogs with jobs.
Dogs with jobs. Dogs with rank. Dogs with rank. Yeah. Now,
I think
How
there's
many,
dogs
dogs,
outrank
how
you,
many
aren't there?
dogs outrank you? Hang on, you brought up a very military animals outrank
Do you have to salute the dog as it walks past?
And what if it doesn't salute you back and you just say, this guy, no, proper, please?
Yeah, no, I'm grieved to say that Major Bite left me hanging one day. Yeah, fucking jerk. Yeah.
Nice.
We got him back.
All right, so what sort of subclasses are there of dogs? What roles do they have?
Yeah, so look, and this parallels in what dog companions can do in game. So you've got your assault dogs, the dogs that are able to bite the baddie wherever wherever they like. You've got your
Sergeant
stealth
Cujo.
dogs. Yeah, Sergeant Cujo. Yeah, in the Barkowitz sort of company. Now you've got your assault dogs. You've got your stealth sort of rogue type dogs that perform like a scout function. You've got scavenger type pooches as well, so they can bring you back supplies, ammo, stim packs.
How do they pick the locks?
They're very dexterous with their paws.
Very dexterous.
Not their paws. They pick it with their mouth, man. God, read a book.
I can't read. Give me words. Hurts brain.
Go back to your Meccano set. All right. So you got your scavenger dogs, and then of course the most important, you've got your morale boosters that are just there for pats and belly rubs, right?
Yeah, good pupper. He's a good boy.
Good pupper. So I'll talk specifically about the assault dogs. So these are fascinating animals, and they perform a very valuable function in the military, where they augment the capacity of the troops to be able to provide an offensive function. But these things are like land sharks. They are furry exocet missiles. They are like teeth chainsaws. They are a dog-shaped ballistic missile. They are just a real piece of work. And I would suggest to the general public, and this goes for advice when it comes to any animal, if you don't know the animal personally, and if it doesn't return your salute, just don't go ahead and pat it. Approach the owner, talk to it, and say, may I please tell Sergeant Barkowitz who's a good boy?
Permission to pat Sergeant Barkowitz, sir!
Oh, good grief. I mean, I should have seen it coming. I didn't. I should have.
You should have.
I should.
We warned you.
How long have you known us?
Stop being such an enabler.
Yeah. That's me. Well, Dr. Doom wanted to talk about the overfishing problem in Animal Crossing.
Seriously, and I think there was another panel that talked about Animal Crossing and getting everybody in the world through this pandemic. And I haven't seen it yet, so I'm gonna have to catch on the Twitch recordings, which I'm really looking forward to see that one. But I heard about fishing in Animal Crossing. I'm like, okay, surely I don't think there's boats, so there'll just be some shore fishing, and you'll be able to catch a little, small, pretty fish and things like that. I'm way wrong. There are 80 different kinds of fish you can catch in this game, and it's as small as a little tadpole and as big as an ocean sunfish. And I swear to goodness, that top right picture, that has got to be, it's also got to be the biggest bathtub I have ever seen, because an ocean sunfish can get up to 4 meters in size and weigh 4 tons. These things are huge. In that other picture there, you can see in that little circle there, that's a full cipher, and he is tiny compared to this sunfish.
So I've got a question. What do ocean sunfish eat?
Well, not that cake. He's not allowed to have that cake near the tongue.
He's about to eat
maybe the scuba diver.
They're really slow, so they just sort of feed off of bacteria and plankton and whatever just eventually goes in their mouth. And jellyfish.
Molas love jellyfish, apparently.
Yeah, so they just eat whatever comes around.
That's
But
the
they
same
are
way
they are
Dr.
one
Evil
of the
eats. He just walks around with his
biggest
mouth
things.
open.
Just mouth open. Yeah.
He is a bit of a mouth breather.
I think Dr. Bones.
Window liquor, thank you.
I think Dr. Bones and Dr. Evil are going to have to, set up a business deal with, the spinal cord injuries and spine injuries from trying to lift a 4,000 kilo fish.
Oh yeah,
and hernias that have to come from that as well.
Like,
For our American listeners, how many pounds is that?
That's about 8,000 pounds. So
damn,
actually, it's more like 8,800 pounds.
It's almost like he's had some experience with the American system.
Do you reckon straining to try to lift that out of the water, assuming you're lighting and break, do you reckon you give yourself a stroke? That's a lot of.
You could.
That's a lot of strain, man.
I'd hate to see the Valsalva effect after the end of that one.
I mean, like
more importantly,
you pull it out there and black out.
Well, more importantly, after all of this, right? After I catch this massive fish, which is bigger than my car, and I try to sell it to those damn tanuki to pay off my debt. Like, is it going to settle all of my bells? Am I still going to owe them bells?
I think that one's like worth a whole bunch of bells.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many is a lot of bells or how many you're supposed to owe. Yeah. Again, small children, video games, I don't know what they are.
What do you actually catch this fish with in the game? Like, is it the same thing you use?
You get fishing rods.
Tadpoles?
Yeah.
You get fishing rods.
That picture of that lady has. It's just a little fishing rod.
Right. So
and then what happens? The fish comes up and it nibbles and it nibbles and it catches, and then you go boom, and it goes pop, and then you go, yeah, I could have something.
He's telling us lies. He has played that game.
And then you go sell it to pay off your crippling debt by those dastardly tanukis.
That's
next year we have to do shoulder injuries pulling out 4,000 kilos.
That would be amazing.
That's next year for you.
Yeah, but Batman could do it, couldn't he?
Well, yeah, man. We went through the don't want to go back to Batman.
No. Batman is so 2019. In 2020, Dr. Bones wants to talk about Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, so let's say that you are fishing and you happen to catch yourself
with the superheroes
an octopus, right? And let's say that octopus attacks you and mauls you horrifically. How do you actually deal with this scenario? So here I present to you a case study coming from the Spider-Man game on PS4. To give you a bit of background, for those who haven't played the game, spoiler alert. Sorry, not sorry. You're chasing Mr. Negative throughout the entire game to try to find the antidote to this game's MacGuffin, which is Devil's Breath. It's like a bioweapon. And you defeat him, you've gotten a bit roughed up, and you go, yes, I got the antidote. And right at that moment, Dr. Octopus comes in, and he just annihilates you. And not just your typical sort of Spider gets bashed around and then goes back to web slinging. He's actually badly hurt. He's
really having a bad day.
He's actually bleeding on the ground there. Like, look at him. He's actually hemorrhaging from and Dr. Octopus has not cut him. He has done something bad to him and made him pop like a balloon. So here's the example of a 23-year-old enhanced male that presents to your ad hoc emergency room. Now, next slide. Obviously, Spider-Man, there's all the secret identity stuff, so probably can't present to a normal hospital. So clearly the next best option isn't the Avengers Tower or Doctor Strange's rooms at 177A Bleecker Street.
Interrupt. Like, how many emergency departments, trauma centers do you know that are nationally accredited for actually treating a Spider-Man? Is it a vet? Is it a doctor? Like,
I don't get to see those sort of VIPs. One day I hope to, but not yet, man, not yet. But there are sort of
private hospitals.
Private hospitals. Yeah. So he didn't go to see Doctor Strange, didn't go to the Avengers Tower. No, he decided to go to what the next best option is, which is his homeless shelter.
Point of order. I don't think he had much to do with it. Like, he looked very unconscious.
He actually, yes, to be fair, he was pretty unconscious.
Unless he has a little card that says, take me to a homeless shelter.
Well, like has his blood type and wishes on his Spider-Man symbol. So what would happen in a normal situation, right? You'd go to an emergency room and you'd initially initiate a trauma call. And in it, everyone has their team roles. They know what their duties are. And you go through your primary and secondary surveys. Your primary survey, the alphabets that you all know from your basic life support type stuff, essentially looking for things that are bad that are going to kill you. You identify them, you treat them in order of badness. So, let's look at a little bit of what they did here. Here you see Silver Sable's checking for responsiveness, Peyton Airway, he responds. Miles is going to get PPE, but no one actually uses them. There's a little bit of going back and forth between what they assess. But no attempt at spinal precautions. The only attempt at trying to control his hemorrhage is that there's a bit of direct pressure there. But then look here, the assessment, yep, great, fantastic, he'll live, he just needs to sleep it off. But he's not exposed, there's been no secondary survey, there's no lines, there's no fluids, there's no OBS, no one's keeping an eye on him. You know, he's had a head injury, they can have a delayed bleed. You can have the people that have a subdural hemorrhage, they go from just talking to being completely wiped out dead because their brain swells, and when your spinal cord swells out through the tiny hole at the base of your skull, it's a bad day. Also, there's no doctors here, so you know, maybe I shouldn't be so harsh on them. But probably what should have happened is that they should have transferred him to a centre once they thought that he was stable enough. Transferred him to a centre where he could be properly assessed, maybe get some more imaging, get some proper bloods, because this is not an insignificant injury that this guy's had.
Look, I'm looking at the trauma system, the trauma flow through all of this, and it doesn't look like they've actually done anything for him. I mean, doesn't he at least get an ice pack or an aspirin or something?
They've tried
They
their
just chuck him on
best.
the bed.
yeah, it'll buff out. He just got to sleep it off. Just got to sleep it off.
Just he'll live. He needs rest. Yeah, right.
That'll
All right.
But it's like that they carry his neck is fully extended.
Yeah, lucky he didn't have a neck injury. He'd be paralysed.
Well,
You'd have to
he's
learn
got a
tips
neck
from
injury
Barbara
now.
Gordon or Professor X on how to fight crime. You know. Okay. Anyway, next slide.
I'm just going to do another shameless plug. Hashtag
Oh, yes.
PRPAX20 for any questions / PAX Discord. We are getting a few through, which is fantastic.
Thank you guys for your questions.
Speaking of shameless plugs, I want to talk about Spider-Man's hair.
Yeah, it is.
Dr. Bones talk about it.
It is his underrated superpower for sure. So you play this game, and there's a lot of scenes where he sort of lands on a rooftop, finds one of his backpacks, changes into Peter Parker mode, and then he goes wandering around. And what I can't help but notice is that this man's hair is flawless. Like it is fabulous. It's always perfectly coiffed or coiffed, isn't it? I always mispronounce that. Never squashed. Even in that scene down the bottom Aunt May's dying. He's just been beaten up. He's literally pulled off his mask in front of her. His hair's perfect.
How do you know that's his hair?
Cut up in the face.
How do you know that's his hair? How do you know that's not some fancy Spider-Man helmet?
Well, if it was a helmet,
That's how he survived the battle with Doc Ock.
That is, yeah. Thank you, Dr. Doom.
Look at the shape of his head underneath the mask, man. That is pretty firmly squished down.
Oh, you're sounding
It's
defensive
a
now,
really
Dr.
well-formed
Bones.
helmet.
No.
Are you jealous of Spider-Man's hair?
As far as I'm aware, Spider-Man is not bald.
For crying out loud. Of course he's going to have a
Oh, shots fired.
Well, I am not enhanced, and so what I want to show you is what actually happens in the real world when you have to do regular costume changes during the day. So you go into theatre and you have to wear this ridiculous... I do not have a helmet that only exists in Scrubs. But you know, you go from having to put this stuff on and then take it off and go down to clinics and wards.
You look like you are about ready to be shot out of a cannon in that photo.
I'm pretty aerodynamic. I would go a long way. Probably not all the way home. Probably just to the emergency department to see patients. But yeah, you essentially have permanent bed head, and patients are looking at you going, "You slob. Why haven't you at least tried to comb your hair?" It's like, it's not my fault, man. I've been working. That's why my hair is terrible. I don't have hairspray. I don't have bug spray.
That's what you're telling everybody anyway.
It is.
Dr. Evil, how much use is a concrete wall if you were to say insert it between yourself and, let's just say, a copious amount of bullets?
So concrete, very useful. Use externally only. Don't take internally. It won't make you any more bulletproof. But we all know it is not a pack. It is not a stim pack. Not a stim pack.
Not a stim pack.
Would it
What are stim packs?
chest high stims?
Chest high stims.
Just like stim packs. Okay.
Chest high stims. So everyone knows chest high walls save you from bullets, explosions, bad guys. Like they are the next generation of true weaponry. Like we haven't got there yet. We don't have the technology for the chest high wall developments in this modern military, but we're getting there. And look, I've got to do a shameful plug for the characters that are developed in Gears of War, and I only ever understood how they looked the way they look after Dr. Enabler drew me to what the art director for Gears of War actually looked like. He should have his own character in Gears of War. The man's a machine. Look at it. His biceps have biceps.
His biceps have biceps.
Anyway, so
just needed something big enough to hide behind. If he
he's a man mountain. So let's talk about concrete. Now, is concrete bulletproof? Yes, to a point. You shoot the same spot enough times, you're going through it. You shoot it with something big enough or heavy enough, you're going to put a hole through it. A 50 cal round will go through a piece of Besser brick. Like a knife through butter. Anything behind it is not having a good.
What about reinforced ones though? Like, I wouldn't be going behind a Besser brick wall. I'd be trying to find a nearest K rail or something that's got some reinforced.
So those K rails. Those K rails that you're talking about. So the sort of the barriers that are on the side of highways and roadways. They're called K rails. We use those over in war zones, and they're not. We'll still call them K rails, the ones that are quite short. But when we've got T walls, and then we've got Texas T walls that are really, really huge, and they're up to 10, 15 feet high, and they're thick, but they're not indestructible. I've seen enough of those crack in half. So
okay, how many hits from a Barrett would you be able to take? 50 cal Barrett. You're behind a K rail. How many hits do you hear for?
Yeah, I still wouldn't want to be behind them after a half a dozen. Like, I'd want to be somewhere else.
Okay.
I've got a question. What if somebody threw a grenade and you push one of them over onto it? Are you going to be okay?
Well, I'm going to feel sorry for the K-rail because you've just smothered a grenade with it. What about its little K-rail children? But I think you'll be okay if you can ever live with yourself having murdered a K-rail.
I'll be honest, man. I could not push over a K-rail.
You've got to take the Stim pack to get the strength to push the K-rail over.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay.
I got to take meth.
So
I don't want to take meth though.
Stim pack, K-rail over. Okay, now I've got the order. Okay, I'll be fine.
Yeah, but you have to do all of that within 3 seconds.
In 3 seconds. Well, presumably they've counted to 2 or 3, so you have to.
Yeah.
So I'm dead.
It's just not going to work. So the best advice I've got when you're being shot at in a warlike environment, and if you're next to a K-rail,
run.
Just look unimportant. They may be low on ammunition. Be like, I'm not wasting the $2.
I feel like that's a good life lesson.
But duck and cover physically and emotionally.
What if you are at altitude and don't have access to a K-rail?
Then I believe the best defense is offense.
Yeah, I think that's where we're coming in here.
So, we're talking about this. Like, arguably the best kill I have ever seen in a first-person shooter. So, this player, and I'm sorry, I don't know their handle, but they managed to depart an aircraft that is in flight. And conservatively, that particular aircraft has got a stall speed of around 100 to 110 knots. So that's roughly miles.
Where does his legs go?
Yeah, he's out he goes. He gets out of there, and he manages to overtake the aircraft. So he's doing at least $130.
Do ejector seats actually go in that direction, by the way?
Well, ejector seats kind of push you straight out, and whatever direction the canopy is alt facing at the time. So, but we'll get into that in a minute.
No. Sorry.
He departs the aircraft. He takes sight of the guy chasing him, guy or girl chasing him, launches an RPG-7, and then manages to alight or get back in the aircraft and fly away to safety. Mad props.
Dodging the shrapnel of his fallen foe.
Yeah. The plane that's exploding directly next to his plane. Now, ignoring the windage and so forth behind all of this, let's talk about the pure physics behind getting out of an aircraft at 110 to 130 knots.
Yeah, physics took a holiday on this one.
Yeah, it really did. So, and if you just pop the canopy is going to get blown off, and the aircraft's going to be torn to shreds. If we talk about ejecting from an aircraft, now you go from 0 to roughly 100 knots in under half a second when you eject. You're subjected to well in excess of 14 Gs. Now, we are presently at 1 G, which means we are subject to 1 gravity. If you're at 14 Gs, you're subjected to 14 times gravity. So,
how many Gs can I subject myself to before I black out?
You probably
untrained.
Probably about 5, give or take. Yeah,
as much as 5. I thought you were going to say like 3.
Well, yeah. See, Dr. Doom has the advantage because he's only this tall, so he could probably do about 8 or 9. Yeah. So the human body, it can sustain Gs for short periods of time without turning to pink mush, covered in a flesh sock. And there are records of someone surviving up to 70 G. They weren't happy afterwards, but they did survive. But roughly 14 Gs to exit the aircraft under the under ejection seat. So 14 times the weight of an RPG-7. So you're roughly lifting, 70 plus kilograms plus the weight of your arm. So you're
not going to happen. Not going to happen. What about a Beretta? I could maybe carry a Beretta.
You can
at
maybe
40 times its weight.
Yeah,
will I be able to get my kill count?
I'm not sure you're qualified to, but I'm really glad you asked this because in 1943 there was a United States Air Force pilot who bailed out. Now, he didn't have an ejector seat. He just bailed out of his B-24. So his bomber that had been shot at and was going down. So he was bailed out. And the Japanese aircraft has circled back around to finish the job and it was Second Lieutenant Owen Baggett. All right. Second Lieutenant Owen Baggett drew his 1911 Colt, took aim, and shot down the other aircraft. It is the only air-to-air
plane or what?
It's the only air-to-air kill ever recorded by someone parachuting.
Oh man, that is amazing.
Yeah. So he did well.
I'm more impressed with that than the RPG thing, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can talk more and more about that particular kill, but let's talk about the reality of what actually happens when an aircraft is subjected to, loss of power and someone ejecting out of it. I don't know. And this video, it's quite confronting, but I'm pleased to report that the pilot walked away with no injuries whatsoever. So we'll cover off on that straight away. So you can see the pilot has departed his ejector seat on the rockets has sort of jumped straight out. You see the drogue parachute deployed to straighten him up. And
canopy's gone.
Canopy's gone. So what happens when a canopy is jettisoned? There are explosive bolts down the side of the aircraft, and those detonate, throw the canopy off. They cause significant structural damage to the aircraft even before it is spudded into the ground in a ball of flames and debris. And then the ejector seat follows the canopy not too soon thereafter, and you drift down to safety.
Presumably the rockets also just destroy the chassis of the plane.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of crispy. Yeah.
Now,
so
what is the correct ejection procedure? Like, what is the correct ejetiquette?
When
you're trying to exit a plane.
So when you try and exit a plane, which great turn of phrase. I'm going to publish that. Hashtag Dr. Bones. Ejetiquette. So what happens is, and I had this during my flight training. So you'll be in an aircraft, and in this particular instance, the captain, the guy who's instructing me, who actually sits behind you in this particular sortie, gives you the pre-takeoff brief. And so you're sitting there on the runway. He says, "Okay, so if we approach threshold speed and take off, if we have an engine failure or another emergency, the first thing will be to chop power and land, or try and do a go around and land back on the runway we just took off from." Now, if we're unable to do that, you will hear me say 3 words: eject, eject, eject. On the third instance in where I say that phrase, I will depart the aircraft and you are in command. So he's basically saying, bye, this is your problem now. Yeah.
Once I leave, it's your problem.
Once I leave. So
I'm very sad to say that we're going to have to eject on this topic because we are rich and time poor. So let's cover off on some Dr. Bones genealogy.
Yes.
All right. So
genealogy from the orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah.
There are a lot of I did a Bachelor of Biomedical Science, man. I am qualified, but I do love bones and power tools. So I do notice that there are a lot of badass characters in video games. And so what I thought is, what actually makes a badass? Is it the environment that they're subjected to? Is it something inherent in their genetic makeup? And so I looked at this dynasty here. Like, what do the Doomslayer, the Wolfenstein guy, and Commander Keen have in common? Well, they're all related. Go to the next slide. I tracked their lineage, and now obviously it's a bit complex because there's differences in the canon, but this is probably the most reflective of what is actual canon for these characters. So you had BJ Blazkowicz, Wolfenstein guy, killed Mecha Adolf, then had a child with Julie Marie Peterson, their child, unassuming dude, he's a news anchor man. They have 3 other children. One of them happens to be Commander Keen. Badass. Commander Keen has 2 children. One of them ends up being Doom Guy, and one of them is his daughter, who sort of only features in one of sort of the offshoot games, which I'll try not to talk about too much because it kind of makes me sad of what it did to the franchise. However, going through this, I can work out what the genetic traits are. So initially I thought, oh yeah, for sure, Wolfenstein Guy, Doomslayer, Commander Keen must be Y-linked. Not so. Does not explain the fact that Billy Blazkowicz is, certified badass. So can't be Y-linked. So Y-linked is, your XY chromosomes, X, Y is what males have. Now, is it a dominant trait? Well, if it was a dominant trait, it would be passed out to every generation going forward. And you can see there it skips a generation, so it must be recessive. Now, is it X-linked? So is it linked to the X chromosomes? Well, it doesn't quite match up because then you'd have more females than males. So what it comes down to is that the inheritance of badassery, on my deep dive into this, is an autosomal recessive trait, which means that you need to have traits from both parents to give you you have to have genes from both parents that are badass to give you the trait of being badass. If you only have one, you become a carrier. You're not badass, but you can pass it on to your children.
So what you're saying is that badassery is sexually transmitted.
You're sexually transmitted.
You did leave it open for it.
Yeah.
If you leave that door open, he's going to.
Only to him. Only to him, you degenerate.
I have a question.
No. We're running short of time. Shush.
But I still have to ask.
No biscuit. So yes. You're allowed to talk, Dr. Doom. Dr. Evil is
Billy
banned.
Blaze is Commander Keen's dad.
What
was his job?
Billy Blaze. Well, all I know is that he was an 8-year-old who managed to cobble together a spaceship from household appliances, vacuum cleaner, trash can, toaster, you name it. He traveled to Mars. His outfit, he wore his brother's football helmet, a T-shirt, and some jeans. He was able to survive in Mars without the need of like a Predator suit, without any special equipment. And he created a genocidal kill count using nothing but a ray gun and a pogo stick. So I put it to you that out of all these people in this lineage, Commander Keen is the most badass. This makes me very happy.
So compared to that,
go to the next one. Go next one. Commander Keen is the most badass.
But then
Mars is where
it's not.
Mars is where the whole Doomslayer Hellspawn thing started.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up. Yes. So there is a small chance that during all of Billy Blaze's 8-year-old glee, he may have caused a rift in space-time that allowed the Hellspawn to come in and create the apocalypse, which then his son had to clean up.
So biggest genocidal maniac.
That is an excellent kind of like point to leave that at because it's a level.
Yes, look, we got to move on. We're running out of time.
Because we've got to keep moving on.
But look, I'm very glad. Like last year, I wasn't able to talk about my Fallout stuff, and I'm really keen to talk about that. Like, can we go through it?
We got
it. Like, because we missed out.
We don't have time.
Again!
Another time. Next year.
You guys are breaking my balls.
All right, but Dr. Doom wanted to talk about like art becoming life, almost, I guess. Digital.
Yeah, well, usually we say,
this
art
is topical.
imitates life, but the life sometimes imitates art. And so I wanted to talk about the corrupted blood incident in World of Warcraft and the parallels between that and COVID-19. Very topical year for that, unfortunately. And so, for the very few people that don't actually know what happened with this, and to admit that I was one of them, there was a raid incident where call it a virus or a plague that was spread from the bad guy to the raiders, and then they could spread it to themselves. And then, unfortunately, it got loose. And it went
I actually think I know how it got loose.
Yeah, how did it get loose?
And animal companions.
Animal companions. So we should
NPCs, animal companions, because I think that they are worth more than just being called animal companions.
Don't.
They're real people, man.
Don't do it.
They're real people.
So, but
real people,
anyway,
real jobs.
Anyway, what happened was that it got into the cities, and then the characters that were asymptomatic carriers, being the NPCs in the world, they could carry it and transmit it to various players. And then, people would log in and they would see scenes like that one in the picture there of just corpses everywhere. And
I'd back away.
People did what we think they would do.
Whoa.
They started panicking. They bolted. People
did they buy toilet paper?
Out. I'm not sure if you can buy that in World of Warcraft.
Oh, okay. That's an oversight. Game developers, get onto it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Anyway, some people would run and they would social distance and wait and survive it. There were medics and healers that were trying to keep people alive while they survived and to get them out of towns.
Yeah, first line responders. Yep.
Yeah, first responders. There were unfortunately people who didn't care what happened. They were able to survive, so they just spread it around.
And they've ruined it for everyone.
They ruined it.
There's always one.
So I think I've come up with. We should mimic the solution that Blizzard did.
Yeah.
To fix the problem.
So how did they cure it?
So what we're gonna do?
What vaccine did they cure it?
They did cure it. Yep.
Yeah.
Sort of. They came up with a patch. Okay. And the patch, simple, works like a vaccine. Changed the way it works.
Yeah.
People. Yeah. Sounds good. Made it so that all the animals couldn't carry it. Great. And then they did what I think we really should do. We need to turn off the planet. and then just reboot the planet. Okay, we're just going to turn it all off and turn it all back on again.
I've watched IT Crowd. Turn it back on and off. Turn it off and on again.
Now you're in my area of expertise.
Yes.
We'll
Dr. Enabler.
But anyway, one of the things that I love about this whole situation.
So if I stop the Earth spin, how long does it take to restart it?
A couple of days.
If there's a patch to apply.
Yeah. Apply patch.
There's a patch. It takes longer. Yeah. One of the things that I think is amazing about this in the medical world is that when this incident happened, it was important enough from an epidemiological perspective that it made it into the Lancet. Now, for those people that don't know, the Lancet is one of the most popular journals and most informative, most powerful journals in the world.
It's a heavyweight. It's a heavyweight. You publish there. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. You're telling your friends, you're telling your mum.
Everywhere.
You're in nightclubs, you're telling people about it to get cred.
Exactly.
You know, that's
exactly.
But
sorry, Dr. Doom, you just said the word epidemiology to an orthopedic surgeon.
Well, it sounded big, so
too many syllables.
Think that it's an important
way
word.
Too many syllables. Yep.
But here it is. Video games
bugs
in the medical world.
Yep.
And so the big piece of advice really is heed medical advice, social distancing. If there's a patch made, vaccine, get the patch, upgrade your character, and do what you can to minimize the spread.
If all else fails, turn it off and on again.
All I'm hearing is
so that next year we can do this in person.
Stay home and play video games.
Stay home.
We want to do this in person.
Yes. So big if we stay home and play video games. Give us more content for next year.
Yeah.
Speaking of content, as we've made it through that, unfortunately,
what a segue!
All out again for Dr. Bones. We do have questions. Do you guys want to do some questions? Let's.
I love questions. That's one of my favorite bits. The questions.
I'm gonna start with what I see as the most important question here.
Yes.
That's from Penny on Twitter, and that says, "What's on Dr. Bones's mug?"
So I love Broken Bones and Power Tools. It was a gift probably about sort of 10, 12 years ago, and I love this mug. And it keeps my I must admit I'm drinking tequila out of it, but not tea. So that's my little secret.
So you're not on call. All right, good.
All right.
No, I'm not on call. Not on call. Wait, is tequila a stim pack?
Tequila's not a stim pack.
Nothing
it feels like
a present to chase the From Kala on Discord, we got asked, for maximum damage, are you best off shooting an arrow at the back of the knee or the side?
Oh, good question. Look, if you want to immobilize someone properly, you go for the thing where all the bad stuff is. So anything that is white, blue, or red, that is nerves, vessels, and arteries and veins. And right at the back of the knee, that's where all the bad stuff is. That's what we call tiger country. Aim for the back of the knee. Don't go for the front. You might just cause them to be mildly maimed.
There's some juicy red and blue things back there that will allow you to hemorrhage and
die. If you take out their vessels, you have probably about 6 hours to be able to reperfuse it before you have like an 80%, 86% amputation rate. So pretty big deal. If you're down in like a tomb somewhere and you get an arrow to the knee in the back of your knee, sorry, you're not going to be a guard. You're not going to be an adventurer.
Oh, damn.
Well, you could get a really cool prosthesis out of it.
You could.
Yeah.
Or you have to be really good at your restoration spells. Like, we're not talking being adept like journeyman or master.
Guys, we are still taking questions. I've got quite a few here, but
okay.
No, not at you. This is at everybody else who's out watching in Streamland. Not everything is about you, Dr. Bones.
Oh, man.
We are still taking questions. Our mods are still picking them up. So Twitter, hashtag PRPAX20, or Discord if you still have a question. We're going to keep answering some right now. So Steve Clark on Twitter asks, in some games, examples StarCraft, Borderlands 3, you can irradiate someone who then slowly dies, but keeps moving and is so radioactive that they damage anyone near them. Is that possible in real life, or would that much radiation just kill you immediately?
Tune in next year when Bones actually gets to that topic.
Guess what? That was one of my slides, which got cut. I went through the whole Fallout thing, man. I drew a table. I drew a table for you guys. Long story short. Long story short.
I'm going to get the table.
Oh, you are. Oh.
Here you go. All right, there you go.
So I can inject on this as well.
So on the left is what the Fallout game has as your levels of radiation versus what will happen to you. And actually, when you look at that, it's fairly close to what would actually happen in real life, which I found quite amusing. Now, they use RAD. No one in medicine use RAD. We tend to use grade. So what I did for y'all is I calculated what it would be in RADs. And so if you were to get a 3,000 RAD...
You got your intern to do the math. You can't math.
No, I can math, man. I'm able to math. I'm half Asian, so I'm able to math. I can do it. If you get 3,000 rad worth of radiation, that is death within 48 hours. So it's not insta kill, but you're on a clock, right? You're on a clock, and you're probably not well during that clock, so you can't do a whole like last minute, let's be Jason Statham type scenario.
And to answer the second part of that question, Dr. Enabler. Yes, you can damage the people around you. So the one of the saddest parts of the Chernobyl incidents and the Fukushima incidents.
Don't give your loved one a hug.
Yeah, they actually transferred. So the loved ones who were exposed to that actually managed to transfer a degree of radioactivity to their close family and friends. And even those who were close to ground zero, who passed away immediately following the accidents. They had to be buried in lead-lined coffins because they were so radioactive that they were actually leaching radiation into the area around them.
Yeah. And on that topic as well.
Technically, if you're lucky enough to be sleeping next to someone at night, technically they're a little bit radioactive, so you're getting a little bit of radiation from them. Then again, technically, so is a banana. So, whatever. Just live your life.
Is that why people that have close relationships and sleep together, often can be reported as glowing?
Oh, you're banned too. I can't think either of you. It's just you and me now. Like they're gone. They're done. Yep. They're done. All done.
I'm just muting everybody now. Let's go to a non-radiation question. Fracken on Discord asks of your plane explanation and ejections, Dr. Evil. Yep. Do you think he did a sideways ejection on purpose to get clear of the explosion? So when he was coming down, he's kind of
So if you have a look at the actual ejection sequence, and can you pull up the video clip again, man. Enabler? Yeah, I know I'm asking a lot. So what actually happened and the aircraft incident following that is he was in a low, slow bank and he lost an engine. So he would have had between the time where he realized that it was unrecoverable to where he needed to get out of the aircraft because a half a second later his plane was in the ground. Very small amount of time passed. Now,
there's not a great reaction time.
The modern day ejection seats are designed to, and you can see the drogue parachute deploy immediately following him departing the aircraft. That's designed to right the ejection seat right side up. And so even if you're inverted and you eject, what will eventually happen is, and it depends on whether you're completely inverted or to the side, how quickly the ejection seat will right itself, and then you coast safely to the ground.
Right.
Some ejection seats, you actually need forward momentum in order for them to work.
Yep.
And some ejection seats have a threshold where they say you won't be able to safely eject outside of 100 meters or 100 feet towards the ground, and that's on smaller aircraft. Ejection seats. So without talking to the pilot, I can't say definitely, but the amount of time passed between where the emergency declared itself and where he departed the aircraft, no, it wouldn't have been a conscious decision. It was literally like, this aircraft's falling, I'm out.
Oops, out.
Dr. Bones, there's been a follow-up question to your Spider-Man information that is from Penny on Twitter, who says, who actually starts, but Dr. Bones, spiders don't have bones. Post-evolution, does Spider-Man have bones?
He does. There are X-rays of him, so he does actually have bones. The way that spiders walk without bones is quite fascinating. So spiders, they have sort of tendons and ligaments which allow their joints to contract back to the position that they were. So what they essentially do is they increase their internal pressure to make their legs extend and then relax to make them bend, or something along those lines.
No, I'm not drawing that. I'm not drawing that.
You are
parallel.
not. You are not drawing that parallel. Bad. Go back to your cave. But that's the way that they kind of move. So they don't have bones. They don't have muscles or tendons. They do it by increasing their internal pressure and walking. Spider-Man still has man side of him, so he has muscles, tendons, bones.
Oh. Well,
he broke a couple of ribs prior to sort of this scene in the game as well. Like you can sort of see him limping around, clearly like not very happy about his broken ribs.
Well, spiders seem to have like caused a bit of an onflow of questions here, because the next one up from Wyson in Discord asks, what are the infection risks from a radioactive spider person's blood?
That's a good question.
You know who we need? We need
Dr. Death. We need Dr. Death.
Where is she?
I miss her. Why should you look, when it comes to exposure to blood, your skin's a great barrier. So as long as it doesn't break the skin, you're okay. As long as you don't actually drink it like a crazy person, you're fine. The eyes actually can absorb a bit of blood, so that's why whenever we're in theatre, we're always wearing eye protection. So if you just got a little bit of radioactive blood on you, probably be okay as long as you washed it off straight away. Yeah. And I'm assuming that Spider-Man isn't currently radioactive from the spider bite. Like I'm assuming that what happened, the spider got hit by the radiation, changed its genes, and then somehow that was able to transfer into Spider-Man. But I don't think Spider-Man's actually radioactive. Otherwise, Mary Jane wouldn't have such lovely red hair.
Well, the follow-up from here is like, from Victor on Discord. I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
Who asks, would they have actually cut his suit if they needed to treat him? Which
they should have.
Like,
they should have. Like honestly, they should have. Like,
exposure.
You got to expose. Like he's bleeding out from somewhere major, like his chest, his abdomen. Like you got to at least expose that. He's got a head injury. Like you got to at least be able to expose his face. Like I mean, yeah, sure, you got to protect secret identity, but patient confidentiality, I guess, comes into that, doesn't it? So
he's probably got a lot of internal bleeding, and
whatever.
Everything I know about medical science has taught me that the blood should be on the inside, so that's fine.
It shouldn't. Yeah, exactly. It should be on the inside. It should be not on the outside. Yeah, blood should go round and round, not out. Air should go in and out.
Victor, absolutely. As a part of a standard trauma resus, we completely expose the patient, and
we do expose them. We keep them warm because getting cold is bad. If you get cold and you've lost blood, you can become coagulopathic, where you sort of can't clot properly. So there's that triad of you just keep on bleeding. So you get cold, so hypothermic. You lose your platelets. You just bleed out. So you got to keep the patient warm. So you'll expose them to look.
What are the thermal properties of the Spider-Man suit? I'm not talking about the Iron Man design Spider-Man suit. I'm talking about the original Lycra one.
I haven't put one on, man. I would dearly love to. If you can get your hands on one, I would love to wear it.
Don't all orthopedic surgeons go out on their push bikes and ride around different towns every week? You're thinking of anesthetists.
You're thinking of anesthetists.
I know some orthopedic surgeons that do it too.
I don't wear Lycra. Lycra is a privilege, not a right.
We're all very thankful for that, Dr. Bones.
I am going to do the 2 last questions that I already have here. That we're going to do very, very quickly because we're out of time.
Thanks for your questions, guys. We love them. Thank you.
Yeah, keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Keep them coming on Twitter. We will be answering even more on Friday. Victor Marnik on Twitter has asked, is using a gas mask, i.e. the Metro series, or consuming vodka in Stalker a reasonable counter for radiation? Let's keep that one short. So wear the mask or drink the vodka?
So the vodka is going to make you feel better about the fact that you're slowly decaying and going to die. The mask only provides one avenue of protection when it comes to absorbing radiation. So you actually need all open areas of skin closed up with special carbon impermeable suits. So the military use the CBRN suits. They don't.
It's like snowflakes of death. You need to cover up.
Yeah. And even when you get out of that environment,
neither.
Yeah.
Run.
Well, the gas mask is going to make you feel safer without actually making you safer, and the vodka is going to make you feel better about the fact you're soon going to die.
Cool. All right. Last question straight off Twitter, which we're going to leave very short. Everyone can only answer within a few words or less. Wood is from Hughes on Twitter and says, would a human-sized tortoise have a higher armor class than a human in plate mail? Which would provide the most protection?
Human in plate mail. I don't think tortoiseshell is as resistant to. Actually, it depends on how thick the plate mail is, doesn't it?
Have a look at an X-ray of an actual tortoise.
Yeah.
The inside isn't really full of anything.
No, I would almost go tortoise.
Yeah, like the shell is the tortoise. All right,
I got two.
Like trident armor versus plate armor, like steel plate. Like why aren't Abraham's tanks coated in tortoiseshell?
Okay, we're going to call that one 2 tortoise, 1 human. And I am now going to take us through to the end of things where I say,
thanks, guys.
Don't forget to submit your questions for our Friday Q&A. That will be happening on Friday at 6:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time. That is all questions. So we'll be taking questions from you over the next few days, compiling them and answering them. Use hashtag PRPAX20 to make sure our Twitter guys are able to see your questions and load them all in, and you'll go in the running to win one of 5 prescribed respawn pins. And we're just going to do a quick thanks. I have been added in here by one of you, I assume, so thank me for
thank you, Dr. Enabler,
keeping these 3 in check. Thanks also to Dr. Overlord of Overlord Industries, our another little behind the scenes worker doing lots to make all of this work for you guys. Big thanks to the Penny Arcade team for having us back again. We've had a ball. And a big thanks to those wizards who are the reason you can see us at the moment. They do all of this wonderful stream the PowerPoints, make sure we're visible and can do all of this fun stuff. And of course, thanks to Evil Corp and Born and Thread, who are essentially our big providers. They give us coats and all this other fun stuff to sit here and chat to you all. Any last words, guys?
It's been a blast.
See everyone Friday.
We want to see you Friday. Bring your questions. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.